Welcome to Fandom
and Wellness,
a podcast about the complex relationship between fandom and mental health.
Disclaimer, we are not psychiatrists or psychologists. We are just fangirls with a vested interest in mental health. I'm Arkeida.
I'm Jenny.
And I'm Danielle, and this is our 1-year anniversary episode.
Yay! Oh my gosh.
Yay!
It's been a whole year. I can't believe it.
Yeah, that's wild.
Mm-hmm. It's also obviously the end of a decade, which is a lot in itself. So, what were your favorite episodes of Fandom and Wellness that we've done?
Well, off the top of my head, the Matrix episode was my favorite one, probably.
Same, which I've written like every single time I've done a post about it. I'm like, this is my favorite episode.
It's just so good and smart and...
Yeah, Kale Keegan was the best possible guest to have on that episode.
I did also enjoy that episode a lot, listening to it.
Yeah, we missed you.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. This is how we do it.
Yeah, we started doing a format where it would be either one of us and 2 guests or 2 of us and 1 guest, to be a little less overwhelming than having all 3 of us. But yeah, the episode was just so good. It was we rewatched the Matrix trilogy from a trans perspective.
Yeah, it was insightful. It was funny. Like, rewatching it was amazing because I forgot how good it was. And also,
it still holds up.
Still holds up, and I can't wait to see where it goes next.
Number 4 is coming out.
Mm-hmm, and how making a Matrix movie in this day and age will change it as well. So that'll be interesting to see. I also really liked the Unbreakable trilogy, even though it's a bad trilogy. I do not. Glass was a bad movie.
We don't judge your taste. We don't judge over here.
Problematic favorites, okay? I love that trilogy, but it's definitely problematic as hell.
Fake ass superhero trilogy. It was really good to have Andrea on to talk about mental health and specifically about DID, because she really gave us a really interesting perspective and knowledge about it.
Yeah, Dr. Andrea Letamendi.
Yes.
Someone who I was very excited to have on our podcast. She has done a lot of write-ups, especially recently, about different fandoms and how they relate to mental illness and mental health. So I would definitely recommend looking up anything that she has done.
Like, we could have her as a guest almost every episode.
If she wasn't incredibly busy, then we definitely could.
Every single episode.
Yeah. She would just always have something insightful to say.
Yeah. Arkeida, what is your favorite?
So, it's hard to narrow them down because, I really love doing this with you guys, but I have 2 favorites. And one was one of our early episodes when we did Into the Spider-Verse.
That's a throwback.
A throwback. That, I don't know, Into the Spider-Verse, like you said, it was like a love letter to New York City, and I really enjoyed that movie. And it was one of my first times, really getting fully introduced to, the Miles Morales character, him being from Brooklyn, me being from Brooklyn and all, and, really seeing a superhero movie that gets representation and gets not only Black, but Afro-Latino representation as well. And I don't know, it's a heartwarming, touching movie, and I loved seeing this kind of superhero movie versus some of the other ones that have come out over the last years. I don't know, but this was one of my favorites. And then the other one...
Yeah, and I really loved having Darius Prince on as our guest.
Yes, that was fun.
He's a riot.
He was. I think that was one of our longest episodes.
It was so long. Oh my god, what a nightmare to edit.
Our episodes have probably cut in half since...
there was a lot to unpack in that movie.
And a lot of tangents to cut out.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
What was your other favorite?
I'm sorry, neither of you were on that one, but it was the cosplay episode with Rachel and Geishavi. Just because, come on, I love cosplay so much. I've already started playing out 2020 cosplays and designs it's all in my head. I have to schedule how I'm going to manage to make all of these. But the cosplay episode was really fun and insightful into like how different people like have come to love and enjoy the world and community of cosplay. And it's always been a fun world for me. I try to avoid a lot of the negativity in cosplay, so that one is good. Yeah.
Yeah, both of the episodes that you two individually did with two guests were really, really great. They were very like emotionally impactful and insightful and really, really funny at the same time.
I really love getting other people's perspective on how they are part of the community, of the geek community, because everyone experiences it differently, and it really gives you an idea of how amazing.
How big it is. Yeah.
How big it is, how amazing it is, how diverse it is.
But yeah, I also really, it's not necessarily that these are two of my favorites, but I really enjoyed I enjoyed the grief episode because it was a different format than we normally do. Mm-hmm. Like we normally, I feel like, focus on one either movie or show and talk about mental health aspects within that. But the grief one, we talked about grief as a topic and incorporated different movies from Pixar. So I thought it was a really interesting conversation. And then I liked the Dark Phoenix episode because we were basically just shitting on the movie the whole time.
I did enjoy that too. It was funny.
Yeah, that
was fun. It was fun.
There was a lot of issues within that movie.
Yeah. I also enjoyed the Harry Potter one because I think that was like the first one that was just the three of us, other than the original episode.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Perhaps. I don't know.
Could be.
What do you expect me to do? Know my own catalog?
Yeah.
I mean, so Jenny does all of the editing, which is a lot of work, which is why we have a Patreon if you want to subscribe.
Nice.
All of that goes to Jenny. Is there any other favorites? Or should we move on?
No, if there's no other favorites, what episodes do you want to do in the future?
Steven Universe, which I have said a million times, obviously. If you've listened to our podcast, I'm not going to summarize why we need to do Steven Universe because I've said it a bunch of times, so
yeah.
That's okay. Also, BoJack Horseman. Do either of you watch BoJack?
No. Nope. It looks a little depressing.
Yeah, every person I see post
depressing.
about it is like, I'm crying, it's sad. And I'm like, I don't know if I could put myself through that. My life's already sad.
It's very real. The last season comes out at the end of January.
Okay.
So I would wait a little bit to do it. I also want to do a true crime episode because it's such a big thing. Like it's its own fandom base. I know you love true crime, Jenny.
It's interesting because we'll talk more about it if we do a true crime episode, but like I only recently got into true crime like a year or two ago. And there's like, it's very interesting to kind of dissect why people like true crime. Cause I got in through it through a comedic podcast. So like that kind of like cut through the like barrage of darkness that true crime can be. But I kind of started my love of true crime evolved from there. So it's definitely an interesting topic that we can address.
God, I think I started liking true crime when I was like a little kid watching Unsolved Mysteries. And my mom loved true crime. It's just like, it's so funny, like just how many, like, not the stereotype, but how many women love true crime and how many like generations of women love true crime and how many memes there are about women who love true crime.
I think it would actually be interesting to see if there are any men who like true crime and like why they like true crime. You know what I mean?
I'm sure they are. It's just like the overlap will be interesting.
I wonder if there are different reasons because
maybe they're learning how to kill. No, just kidding.
No, terrible! No.
Just kidding. But anyway, I'd also like to do more episodes that focus on like the experience of small businesses because I know that a lot of small business owners struggle with depression. Arkeida, what about you?
So I've been saying this forever. Definitely Lower Olympus because I just finished the next episode is supposed to come out today, and I'm like, I need it just because I'm really loving it so much. And then I recently went to see Hadestown a few weeks ago. Amazing. I recommend seeing it enter the lottery because tickets are so expensive.
Lore Olympus is so beautiful.
It is so beautiful. Not even just the part of telling Hades and Persephone's relationship within each other. It's like the support group that Persephone gets from Eros after she's essentially
don't say what happens.
Okay, I won't say. I'm not going to say anything. But like, it's her trying to regain agency of herself and her body and her mind. Like, because for so long she feels like all of her choices have been made for her, and I really love that about this. And it's like it's a series that so many people can relate to. And also, if you like romance, you should definitely read it as well. So there's so many things. I'm sorry, I don't want to spoil it because I really want to do an episode on it. So please go read that.
I mean, we obviously normally talk about spoilers in our episodes. The only reason I just interrupted you by saying don't spoil it is because Lore Olympus specifically is a webcomic that you can read the whole thing by the time we do an episode on it.
Right. Yes.
Because I read the whole thing in one day.
Right. Yeah. So. I like reread the whole thing in one day too.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, so I won't say anything because thank you for catching me. There's
sorry.
a couple
That's
other
the only reason I did that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. But like, there's a couple other things that I would love to do an episode on fashion and film. Because I love costume design and I just want to talk about like how things are made and why things are made and why certain characters get what they have and why do women have to be half naked? What the heck's up with that? Empowerment to everyone, but not every single lady has to show all of her boobs.
Sometimes they can show out their butt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's nice.
That's actually a very interesting topic for sure.
Yeah. Maybe I can ask Jane to be on that episode.
Yeah, that would be fun. And then the very last one, because I could continue going on, would be toxic fandoms and how to navigate that. Because there can be some things said on those e-boards that are just like unnecessarily cruel and hurtful. And fandom is something that's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to make you feel put down or hurt. And I feel like sometimes people need to step back and see what they're writing from the screen, but also like as the person that's been on the receiving end, you have to step back and think, is it even worth it? Because I've had so many times where I'm like, do I even want to be part of XY fandom if it's gonna make me feel like that? And
honestly, no.
Exactly, but that's and how I ended up being part of Geek Girl Brunch and Star Wars, because for so long, the Star Wars fandom had been such a group of toxic fanboys. And I was like, I'm not going to, I was like, I refused to, I'd always wanted to see it and I refused to ever watch it. And then a few years ago, when I joined Geek Girl Brunch, I was like, oh my God, these are girls that are really nice, that are really cool, that really like Star Wars. I'm going to give it a shot. And now I just hang out with girls or anyone else that's not a toxic fanboy when it comes to Star Wars, 'cause I can't deal with them.
Yeah, our next episode is going to be on Star Wars. Is it just Rise of Skywalker, or is it the new trilogy?
That's a good question, because
it'll probably be like a mix of both.
Yeah,
but
there's
mainly
no way to avoid talking about the entire trilogy.
Yeah.
So I would probably say focus on Rise of Skywalker with references to the previous two.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's almost gonna be as if we need to do two separate episodes on just like one on that and one on toxic Star Wars fanboy tears. But we'll mix it all together as we do.
I just started. I just watched the last. Well, I guess it's still playing. It's still airing, but Rick and Morty is like, I find it's extremely funny in a lot of ways. Kind of a lot gross too, which I kind of don't like, but it's still funny. But I avoid the fandom completely because there's no point to engaging in that.
Yeah. That's a horrible fandom.
Yep.
Like I agree. I think the episodes are like kind of funny, but like I saw a meme once that was like, it was like a picture of Rick and it was like everybody wants to be Rick, and then a picture of Morty and it's like, but every Rick and Morty fan is actually Morty.
And like,
I was like, that's accurate. But also, why the fuck would anyone want to be Rick? He's a
you know what's interesting though is that
abusive asshole.
Right.
I saw a meme about that too. What were you saying, Jenny?
It's interesting because in this last season, I feel like it's a direct reaction to the fandom because they're super anti, like even Rick, who is a terrible, terrible person, you see him like having lines and being like anti-Nazi. You would think that's a line that you wouldn't cross, but whatever. Anti-Nazi, like there's moral lines that he won't cross that
I feel like I've seen him throughout the show like that. It's just
right, but it feels like a direct response to the fandom, which is, I love it a lot.
That's good.
But for me, what episodes I want to do in the future are definitely The Good Place. One, because I've mentioned before, I think because of the portrayal of anxiety in it. But also, I think the question of morality is a very interesting one. And
yes, definitely.
I think part of people's anxiety and depression and like their people's ideas of how they what role they play in the universe and with other people plays a very important part in their mental health, and they address that a lot. So if I'm sure people feel depressed or anxious when they are not being the best person they can be, or when they have made mistakes and feel like they've made mistakes that can't be overcome or forgiven or whatever. So I think it's a very interesting topic we can talk about once it ends.
Yeah, Jamila is literally my favorite person
She's great.
To follow on Twitter.
Yeah.
So, yes, 100% yes, she is my idol.
My favorite thing is when she was basically like, I hope you celebrities and like Instagram models shit yourselves from the diarrhea tea, the getting rid of all your toxins tea. So funny.
I could do a whole episode on why her as a person she's just one of the best people on earth. Yeah. But
and also Daredevil, because I feel like that's actually a good episode for Andrea to be on, because if she's seen it, because in the last season we explore Bullseye's or Benjamin Poindexter's childhood and life and the ways in which he's manipulated by Fisk, and it's really interesting because he has borderline personality disorder, I believe, in season 3, and I wonder how it's really interesting to see the portrayal of it, but I wonder how accurate it is. So I think that would be a really interesting episode to do.
Yeah, that reminds me of the other episode that I really, really wanted to do. I wanted to do an episode on borderline personality disorder with examples from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and Fleabag.
Oh, we could probably, if we don't do a whole episode on Daredevil, we could probably just do one on borderline and include those 3 examples, maybe.
Yeah, and the representation, because that's borderline is a highly stigmatized mental disorder.
Yep.
And I like the portrayals on those 2 shows. I actually did not watch the season with Bullseye, but if we do that episode, I will.
Okay.
I watched the first 2 seasons.
Okay, cool. So, in addition to this reflection and ideas for the future about our podcast specifically, I also wanted to kind of do a reflection on ourselves and our goals and our ideas, and also like do a positive one. So I found this article on Psychology Today called 20 Enjoyable End of Year Review Questions. And I'll probably put a link to it in the show notes or on social media, that I wanted to kind of like have a positive reflection of how we've been doing this year and what we can do in the future.
Sounds great, Jenny.
Yay! So what was like a new discovery you made this year that you loved?
Arkeida, you go first.
Well, it's more of a rediscovery for me, because before this, I didn't draw as much as I would have liked to. And this year, I started not only drawing again, not just fashion illustration, but I also picked up painting or
Nice.
re-picked up painting and working with watercolor. And I have to shout out my friend Monique for being the one to
Oh my gosh, so good.
help me organize this and like recommend paints and brushes and whatnot to me, because I found that it is very fun. Not only is it fun, but it's therapeutic, and it's also like, I'm not good at it. Like, I don't think I've painted or touched a paintbrush outside of like painting something for cosplay in at least a decade. So it's nice like relearning this skill that I pretty much forgotten, and it's just something I want to work to get better at. And it's like helped me kind of understand what my art style is, because it's a new medium for me that I've done it before, but it's been so long, it's basically new again. So it's like a new medium that I'm trying to learn. And I've just like been taking this as the year for me learning new things and like getting in touch with my creative side some more.
Yeah, I've loved seeing all your posts in your Instagram stories on Classy Rebel Design. Yeah, I've loved seeing like how much you've like grown with all of your designs and everything like that, and your progress, and just like how proud of yourself you are whenever you're posting them. And I know it's hard for you with imposter syndrome and everything. And also just wanted to say, like, if anyone wants to follow Monique, her Instagram is Monique Steele Art.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Maybe I just follow her personal one.
Oh yeah, her personal account is like every single thing is a model shot, even though she's technically not a model. And it's like, I was like, please model for me. But she is such
Hilarious.
an amazing. I mean, she's not. Is she technically a fashion illustrator?
Well, she did study illustration, but not fashion.
Okay, well, her fashion illustration stuff is incredible. Like the way that she draws fabric and paints fabric is it's just so lively and amazing.
Agreed.
Yeah. Jenny, what about you? New discovery.
Well, I discovered a Xbox 360 in my basement, and
Ooh.
so I started to I bought some Just Dance video games, and I've started doing that to exercise, and it's probably the most effective way to make me exercise because I am very competitive, one, and they make you feel like you're good at dancing even if you're not, and it's just fun. So that's been really enjoyable for me personally. One other thing is that I really I discovered the podcast called Hey Riddle Riddle, where they solve riddles, and also they're improv comedians, so they do improv scenes, and they're the funniest people ever, and it makes me laugh on the train, and it's so funny and enjoyable, and I'm gonna see them live next year, and it's gonna be great.
All right.
I love how much you love going to live podcast recordings.
It's great. It's like it's like you're surrounded by other people who love podcasts and just staring at someone talking, and it's the best.
Yeah, that's so cute. Yeah, and also like podcast is a free medium for the most part, so it's just like it's a nice thing to go out and support.
Mm-hmm. And they usually need the support because they're podcasters.
Yeah, exactly. So mine is it's. I don't know if it's necessarily a new discovery, but it's whatever. It doesn't matter. So like I've been into true crime my whole life, like I said, but usually it's always been stories and podcasts and whatnot that are about like serial killers or just stories that kind of make it out that like, you know, like the victim is like a super badass and the murderer is like a total monster, which I'm not saying is wrong. But those type of stories sometimes make it seem as if, like, the police are, like, all heroic and all good. So this year I started listening to more podcasts like Wrongful Conviction, which shows how many innocent people are actually in our prison system and how, like, just, like, messed up that whole system is, and how, like, podcasts and shows that show the previous narrative that I was interested in can actually like sway you if you are on a jury to believe that like all confessions are like real and definite, when in reality, a lot of confessions are actually false and coerced.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, they help you, or they encourage you to believe that, like, police are always on your side, when in reality, like, if you are ever being interrogated for something that you didn't do, you should not be giving the police any information. You should just be saying your name and that you are requesting a lawyer. Because a lot of times innocent people will just, like, sing like a canary because, like, you know you didn't do anything, and you'll be willing to waive your Miranda rights, and you'll be willing to, like, do a poly test and everything like that because you want to get out of there really fast. And they, like, in that type of situation, law enforcement is not on your side.
Right.
They're just trying to, like, solve a case.
Yeah,
So
in a lot of, like, TV shows, you'll see people, if they ask for a lawyer, they're automatically guilty of something, when really that should be just the norm.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So, like, I really love wrongful conviction and, like, these other types of podcasts because they're showing what's really happening now, and how many people are, like, in our prison system for, like, petty crimes, like petty drug crimes, or, like, are in prison for, like, 30 years for a crime they didn't even commit.
Right.
I've become, like, extremely passionate about, like, the Innocence Project this year, whereas,
Cool.
like, previously I was, like, kind of passionate about it, but now I'm like, I want to donate all of my money.
I think that's like an addiction you have, to just like giving your money away.
Yeah, I have almost no money, and I am, like, always like, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's kind of a problem.
Yeah, a little bit. Oh my god. Okay, so
if I had a lot of money, I would still have no money because I'd be like,
oh my god,
take all my money.
Anyway, so next question. What is one of the biggest pleasant surprises you've experienced during the year? I can go first. I cosplayed at New York Comic Con basically for the first time. I did a Gerard Way before I knew they were back.
And you met Travie McCoy in that outfit, and
yes!
he recognized you.
It was
or
so
recognized that
funny.
you were Gerard Way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you out.
What?
That is not true. You cosplayed as someone from your favorite podcast at Dragon Con.
I did.
I did.
But that was such a fun experience. Travie McCoy from Gym Class Heroes, if people don't know.
I'm in love with him.
I had no idea who this was, but both of you posted pictures with him, and you both looked so happy that I was just so happy for you.
It was just such an amazing coincidence, and when people recognized me, they were full of joy about it. So it made me happy. I also did a super casual Iron Man, which of course I have to. But it was a lot of fun.
You looked very good.
And I would have done the handler from Umbrella Academy if I didn't look so bad in a tiny white wig. But maybe next year, when I find the right wig. But that was a lot of fun.
Okay, but you also think you looked bad in that little elf hat, and you looked so cute.
What elf hat?
I
want to see this elf hat.
For my Adventure Zone cosplay, I did have a hat that I didn't want to wear. Because
she didn't think she looked cute, and she looked so cute.
My friend says I have a hat complex because I don't think I look good in any hats. And I guess I do have a hat complex.
If I have a giving away my money complex, you have a hat complex.
Yes.
I want to stress again, I own a small business and I make less than anyone who's listening to this podcast.
I know! Okay. It's a problem, Danielle!
Yeah, I know.
All right.
What about you, Danielle?
Okay, I'll actually say a twofold one. Mine is that I'm a Hufflepuff and not a Gryffindor. That was a fun surprise. I was wrong. And I was happy that I was wrong because I know enough Hufflepuffs to know how great Hufflepuffs are. And I was like, so I wasn't like, oh no, I'm a Hufflepuff. I was like, I get to be Team Jenny?
Oh.
Team Liana?
Nice. Wow, I'm the outcast now.
It's okay.
Maybe one day. No. you're forever Ravenclaw. But it's okay.
It's too late.
But
My sorority panel says Ravenclaw on it.
I really enjoy looking at the Hogwarts houses kind of like a Myers-Briggs test and getting to know a bit more of my personality, like in that sense, and connecting with people more in that way.
Cool.
It's super fun. Also, as the twofold, I really enjoy that when J.K. Rowling's just said that real turfy shit, the fandom basically was just like, you go in the trash. Like, basically no one other than other stupid-ass British celebrities defended her. Everyone I know, like, even people I didn't expect were like, bye! And it's because, like, I mean, she's been doing turfy things for a while now.
But it's never been this explicit either. So
it's frustrating that, like, people have kind of been like, I don't know. But yeah, now that she's at least explicitly said it, everyone is like, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. So
and
I'm pretty
for
proud.
All the fish.
I'm proud of the community for being like, no.
What about you?
Well, I will say this podcast. And I don't know if a pleasant surprise is good because it sounds like, oh, it's a mistake, but I'm happy with it.
I thought it was going to be
technically a surprise. But... You did. I asked you to be on it, and then like a week later, it happened.
Yeah, I guess doing this it's really fun, and I think speaking has helped me in a lot of ways, and I feel much more comfortable doing it. And one of my favorite things is when we have like our live episodes, because doing our live panel at AwesomeCon and DragonCon, those are like two of the most fun experiences I've ever had at conventions. Like, nothing tops that feeling. I don't know, that's fun, and getting to do that with you both it's amazing. So,
aww.
Even when we randomly get extra guests on our panel, it's amazing.
Oh my god!
By the way,
here you go.
Oh god.
By the way, on the when I brought it up to the podcast director on Discord, one of the extra guests was on the Discord as well, and she's like, "Whoops, sorry. Hope it was okay."
Also, one of the guests that they added didn't show up to our panel.
Right?
Like, that was so... What the fuck? Whatever. It's okay. Whatever. Well, yeah. I guess we'll see who they add next year.
Right? Yes.
And pleasant. It'll be another big, pleasant surprise.
It all worked out.
Arkeida, as a Ravenclaw, how has, like, this panel and this podcast and live panels been for you, like, opening up and expressing your emotions?
Well,
I wasn't trying to call her out when I said that.
You called me out as a Ravenclaw and a Libra. I usually tend to only, like, exude positive emotions, and I feel like having this somewhat has been, like, an outlet for me to, like, be able to, like, process other emotions that I'm feeling, because for so long my Ravenclaw Libra has just been like, show no emotion, conceal, don't feel, hide it all away. And now I'm like, you know what? If I have to be open about this and talk about that's the whole point of this podcast, is for people to understand that mental health, it's okay to have all of the whatever issue it is that you have. And it's not okay that society treats you as an outcast, and we are here as a community. So, like, I'm not saying let my PTSD run free. Keep that. But I'm saying, like, it's okay that I'm open about it, and I talk about these things, and I'm able to talk about my anxiety. And I forgot the question. Where was I going with this? As a Ravenclaw.
You did wonderful.
I'm sorry, my brain is all over the place. But as a Ravenclaw, I feel like I'm trying to make less calculated decisions and overthink things, because, sometimes it's okay to just feel, and I feel like it's very hard for me to do that. So I'm working on that now.
Cool.
Well, I'm proud of you.
So what achievements are you most proud of from this year?
This podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this podcast and speaking on panels, I mean, something about this podcast is that basically, like, it's really hard to work with other people, especially people that you are close friends with. I've owned my own business for the past, I don't know, 8 or 9 years at this point. So, like, I'm like a hermit. I don't work with anyone ever. So, like, I just don't, like, on a daily basis, I interact with my dogs and now my husband and people online. So it's it's
you
very...
You still interact with people, even if it's online, you still have to work with them.
I know.
Yeah.
I said and people online, but but the people I work with online they don't necessarily affect my decision making on how I'm running my company. You know what I mean? Like, I do sometimes have to shift my perspective and be like, okay, I need to, like, respond to things in a different manner, or like whatever. But I mean, like, working with the two of you on the podcast means we have to be paying attention to how each other are feeling at all times and how we're responding to each other. And like Arkeida and I we're opposite in how we work. We just are. And so, like, this podcast, like, helps me understand that, like, not everyone is going to approach everything in the same way as me, and that's okay. And at the end of the day, we still love each other, and sometimes we just need to give each other a little bit of space and then come back to a project. Basically. Also, it's just, like, it's nice to have a platform to be really open on that people are relating to. I know that I like, bottled up all of my feelings for the first, like, 26 years of my life, and then finally started talking openly about things, and now I can't stop talking openly about things.
It just falls out of your mouth.
Yeah. And then it's kind of the same with panels. Like, public speaking is super scary, obviously, and you don't always feel like you deserve to be the one doing it. You're kind of like, why am I the one on this panel? But I guess kind of like, why is anyone the one on that panel?
Right.
Because everyone has something to say.
So. Me on the other hand, I'm like, why am I not on that panel? I deserve to be on this panel.
Hell yes, Jenny. If Jenny was on every panel, that would make me want to go much more.
I'm just kidding.
I am not kidding. I am not kidding.
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey, because it's hard to start things, right? It's very hard to start things. And to keep them going is also very difficult. And I think we've accomplished a lot this year with this podcast.
Yeah, there's been several times, admittedly, throughout the year that I've been like, I feel like maybe I should take a step back and, like, maybe not do this anymore and find, like, a replacement. But we have done things that have made it so it's easier on the three of us, like the episodes where sometimes one of us aren't on.
Right.
Like, with a guest, it helps to give another one of us a break if we need a break that week, which is really nice. And then I feel like we come back a little bit more, like, rejuvenized. Rejuvenized? Is that a word?
Rejuvenated.
Rejuvenated. Rejuvenated. Sorry. I said we come back more, like, rejuvenated, and every time it happens, I'm like, oh my god, I love talking to Jenny and Arkeida so much. Like, they're so sweet and fun. Like, they're my favorite people in the world. So, like, without a doubt, it happens every single time. So,
yeah.
It's just, it comes with a lot of work sometimes. That's the only thing that, like, can make it hard.
Yes.
For me personally, so one of the achievements I'm proud of, actually, is that I've been going on a couple of dates, this year at the behest of my therapist, because basically I was like, I need to reach a certain weight, I need to reach a certain look before I feel comfortable dating.
Jenny is so beautiful, it's absurd. Anyway.
Jenny's gorgeous.
And my therapist is like, you're gonna be waiting forever, because you're never gonna, like, be the ideal person you want to be. And why not start dating and then still try and reach that goal, but also maybe it'll happen before you reach that goal, you know? So it's hard. It's very, very hard to be like, I'm okay. This is fine. I'm fine. People will want to date me. But I've been able to push myself, and it's also not only is it hard to get started, like I said for the podcast, it's hard to get continued dating when you have rejection, but part of it is also doing it so much that rejection is just, one, you get rejected enough that it's just normal, and two, you do hit on a success eventually. So yeah.
And I know you and I have also talked about before Ben, I was single for forever. So like I know you and I also talked about just like dating is time consuming.
Yep.
And like just like getting yourself to be willing to commit to going on a date with someone that it might not work out with. It's just like, it's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of anxiety. It's like, why am I even doing this when I could just be doing this other thing instead? So, have you talked to your therapist about that aspect?
Yeah, and that's where you will have a 0% chance of finding a boyfriend if you don't look for one. And a higher percentage if you do try to look for one. So,
and I hate that whole thing where people are always like, "Oh, I found this person exactly at the moment I stopped looking." Like,
that's not
like so many people say that, and I'm like, that's not true.
Yeah,
it might be true for you, but it's not that for every single body. You can't keep telling people like, just stop looking, and that person will show up, because people come together in so many different ways that it's not like, oh, I'm not looking, so I'm being carefree and whimsy, and I'm a pixie walking through the woods, and there was a sky.
Unless he's the fucking mailman, he's not gonna find me in my house.
My old roommate used to joke that the mailman was my boyfriend because he's the only male that I had regular interactions with.
Oh my god.
I mean, when I could not be in a healthy relationship until I was in therapy. So honestly, like, I don't believe that bogus ass when I stopped looking. I think it's when you're in a healthy place.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you will be able to have a healthy relationship.
Absolutely.
Like my therapist was basically like, when I was in therapy, I tried to follow as many instructions that she gave me.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I just gotta listen to whatever she says and just do whatever she tells me to do. And she was like, you need to go on some dates because you just like need to have fun. Like, I don't care about this. It's not worth my time thing. And so I went on a date with someone, and then I decided we were going to get married immediately. Which is not what she meant, but it's okay.
You took it all the way to the next
Ben was the first person I went on a date with after that advice, and then I married him. But I say all the time, like I would not have been able to be with Ben if I had not been in therapy. Like, it just would not have happened. I truly believed I was not capable of being loved. So, like, when he told me he loved me, I didn't believe him. My therapist had to be like, hey, come on now. Stop projecting. Believe people. So, yeah.
I love you.
You love you.
I love you too.
What about you, Arkeida?
It's
a hard question.
It is. So, I don't know. I never talked about this because we had kind of just jumped into doing episodes at the end of this year, and going into 2019, I was, sorry, I'm gonna get a little emotional.
That's okay.
Kind of suicidal and very depressed. And I was like, I don't know where I'm going in life or in my career or like with my designs. I saw no future for any of it. And I will say having you guys to talk to it's helped a lot with that. I'm in a much better place at the end of this year than I was at the end of last year. And I think it's having you guys as like not only my friends, but like as a support group of sorry.
It's okay.
But like last year, the end of last year, I kind of just like was going through a lot and I like stopped talking to people. I like 2019 I dedicated to having healthier relationships and like kind of getting to the root of why I was feeling that way and trying to regain agency and take over. Like I'm in a much better state. Like I haven't gotten as much done as I would have liked to, but I got way more than I ever anticipated. Like I finally started actually like designing and sending things out, and now I'm like, okay, I've been picking out fabric. I finally like situated on like a manufacturer I wanted to go forward with, and I've had like a lot of obstacles in the way for the last like few months as to why I couldn't get things done, but like at least I know I'm not starting from like square one when I'm ready to like come back to things. But I feel like I've made a lot of good and healthy steps into like becoming the better version of myself, who when I do feel that way, I know I know that I should reach out to friends and family and seek the help that I need. So, but that was why I had stopped doing all those live videos last year, was because I was just feeling very sad and very.
Well, I thank you for feeling comfortable enough to share that with us, and I'm sorry you were going through that. And thank you for when you couldn't handle doing the live videos on Little Petal anymore, for telling me you couldn't handle it. Arkeida was doing a fantastic series on my Instagram where she was educating everyone about just the importance of different topics, especially how they affect Black women. But then she told me she was getting her mental health was getting a little overwhelmed, which obviously that can happen when you're doing a series like that. Yeah, but I mean, I know it's easier to focus on on some of the things you weren't able to do, but I mean, I'm proud of you that you're still here.
Thank you.
I'm glad we were able to help you in any way whatsoever.
We love you.
Oh my gosh, I love you too. And I know I tend to be a very more closed off and not as sharing person. So like,
I think you've done a really good job sharing on this podcast.
True.
Yeah,
that's not true. I just know Ravenclaws sometimes have a hard time fully sharing, as opposed to sharing what they think people want to hear.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
But no, Arkeida, come on, re-listen to the episodes.
All right,
you'll hear your opinions shining through. Also, just know that if you're someone who goes on a date with Jenny and you treat her wrong, Arkeida and I are dragging you.
Dragging you over a cactus, or what? You define drag. Define. I have one.
Oh my god.
Jenny is so perfect that I tell Ben that if I ever die, I hope he marries Jenny.
Oh my god.
Literally, that is. And then Ben goes, "Stop it! Stop it now!"
Oh my god, so morbid.
Like that.
All right.
That's how perfect I find Jenny to be. So you would be lucky. Listener. You would be lucky to have Jenny as your companion.
Oh my god,
Jenny is an amazing woman, and that's like the number one. Jenny is an amazing woman. Write that down.
Thanks for that. I'll put on my dating tape. So, what was a new habit or routine you created this year that has improved your efficiency at work or home? or home/work for Danielle?
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing at my absurdity. Here's a reason for you to marry Ben if I die.
Amazing segue.
I have terrible posture when I'm working because I have to be like hunched over.
Right.
So Ben has taken to, I mean, I guess it's whatever. It's fuck it. Whatever. It's still a habit or a routine. Ben hugs me to crack my back every single day, and it's delightful and intense. But also, I've been sitting here this whole time with a little turtle ice pack in my headphones, pressed against like my temple because I have a migraine. So like whenever I have migraines, I've been holding ice packs on my head, and it's been helping.
Nice.
That's good. Did Ben get you those ice packs?
Even small things are good. What?
Did he get you those
probably.
ice packs?
Okay. Either him or my mom.
Okay.
My mom sends me funny things sometimes.
I personally have started scheduling. This is not for everybody, but I started scheduling every hour of my day. And
holy shit, Jenny!
It has been really effective for me personally because I often find myself like feeling lost if I don't have a schedule, or feeling like I need to do something I need to do this thing eventually, but I don't want to do it now, so I will never do it. So if I put it in my schedule, I'll do it, or I'll reschedule it if I don't do it. You know what I mean? So I find it very good personally, and it means that I feel productive, even if what I have in my schedule is just chill. That fine. I have an hour for chilling. Put in time to chill in your schedule. Although, if you feel like you're wasting time, say no. It's on my schedule, so I'm not wasting time. So it's perfect. That's works important. For me really well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, say leave time for chilling.
Yeah, I'm someone who constantly overschedules myself, and then I get very depressed because I don't do those things. But I don't schedule it like every hour of my day. I just say like, okay, I need to complete these things today. And then when I don't, I get upset. But I never, ever put like time for like relaxation or like downtime in any way. It's always just like piling everything on.
This is a tip from me to you.
I know. I wrote that shit down later in our what will we do next year things, but I like hearing it from you because it means it's definite that I should be doing that. Also, it's funny because Jenny and Arkeida are coming to visit me in 20
2 weeks,
days?
3 weeks, 18, 20 days, 21. I don't know math.
Today's the 28th, the 18th, I think. So
we're forcing
Jenny sent a weekend schedule, and it was legit, like, from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, chill at Danielle's house, from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, like this
Chilling
thing, from like 8 o'clock.
Means I will bring some crafts.
Shit, I need Jenny to schedule my whole life.
You need a Jenny in your life, that's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
If you can see that and not want to, like, I don't know, hire Jenny for everything, I don't know. Arkeida?
Doing the dishes. I hate doing the dishes. Yes, it's a routine. Like, every other day I try to do the dishes, and we had Rose on one of our earlier episodes, and she would talk about how dishes would pile up, and one of her things would be like she would do 3 dishes at a time, and at least she did 3, and if she felt like doing more, that would just be like an addition to her accomplishment. So I've kind of gotten into the habit of like every other day I try to get at least half the dishes done, because I do bake a lot and I do cook a lot, but the cleanup part is just like what I hate the most. So I've been trying to get like ahead of myself, or if I'm baking or cooking something really big, I'll do like half of it while it's still in the oven or it's still on the stove, so that way there isn't so much at the end. But it's just, I feel like I live alone, and who knew I used so many dishes?
That's really cool, because like that's like something from one of our first episodes that helped you throughout the year to do something you wanted to do, because I remember you saying like on that episode, you just like cannot do them, and
I can't do them,
you know,
and it prevents me from, I'm saying it prevents me from being able to, like, if I don't do the dishes, then I don't know I have dishes to keep cooking or keep baking. So, like, it works. trying to get that.
On that episode, I remember saying, like, I do my dishes as I'm cooking, 'cause otherwise I won't do them either. That's awesome. I'm proud of you. That's so cool.
Thank you.
All right. So, what did you face head on this year rather than avoiding? This is hard.
Yeah. Just like maybe like a week or two ago, I randomly did tax prep stuff for 2019, which every year for the past 2 or 3 years, I've filed an extension for my taxes because which you can do, and then as long as you do them by October, you're totally fine. But yeah, like basically every year I'm like, I'm going to do my taxes in January. And then January comes, I don't do them. Then February comes, and then March comes, and then April comes, and I'm like, extension!
Yeah.
So I was really proud of myself because this is the first time I've ever, like, since owning my business, like, actually, like, done, like, the prep stuff, which means, like, going through, like, all of my receipts and statements and everything to see, like, what money I've spent where and, like, how much money I've brought in and everything. To like separate it out into like all the different columns that your tax preparer needs it to go into.
That's
so
awesome.
Like, yeah, it's a lot of work, but I'm so proud of myself that I actually fucking did it because it means I'll actually for once be able to do my taxes in January.
Yay! That's all.
That's actually really impressive.
Yeah. I was so proud. You don't understand how proud of myself I was.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So for me, I had a very difficult conversation about my role in my business, and I did not want to do it because it's hard because I don't want to disappoint people. I don't want to make changes that might make other people's lives harder, even if it makes my life extremely hard to not make those changes. But I had a very difficult conversation, and I'm hoping that next year I'll be doing more of what I like to do for my business, and I hope that works out for me.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, thank you.
I know how hard that was for you. And also, I'm sure Rose understands.
I know, it's just...
Based on knowing Rose, I'm sure Rose understands.
It's just hard.
Of course it is.
What about you, Arkeida?
Well, it's weird. Well, for one, tackling the whole, like, finding a manufacturer thing. Because before this, you don't know where to start when you want to do, like, something, like, find someone to make, you don't know where to start to get your fabric because you don't want to pay retail prices. You don't know where to, like, basically you're just starting from square one, Nope. Square one.
Zero?
Wait. No, I didn't say that. I didn't finish it. You did.
I did. I finished it for you.
You're
Sorry, go
starting
ahead.
at block one, square one. And it was a process of like calling and emailing over 50 different places across the US. And I dedicated an entire month to like every day I'm like, okay, check these places off the list that I've sent an email to. And it's like, I hate sending emails because it's like sending an email was like basically writing a cover letter. And I was like, I have to tailor it. I have to like ask how many units, what are your MOQs? Can you source this for me? It was so much back and forth for so long that like finally finding one place, it was like, it was like the angels rang down on me. and now that I know, like, I couldn't finish everything I wanted to start this year because work in life kind of got in the way and I had to, like, shift my priorities a lot.
You have a full-time job.
Yeah.
I had to really shift my priorities for something else, so I just couldn't keep going. I couldn't keep running at, like, the speed I was and do all this, so, like I said, I'm going into 2020 not from square one anymore. I know what I need to do, or I've done everything that I need to do. Now it's just like all the hard stuff is done. Now I can get on to like some more creative things and work
Nice.
and being able to like collaborate more. So 2020, looking forward to it.
Yay.
So you found the factory that you want to work with?
Yes.
That's great. That's a great goal that you achieved.
It is. So I did. I found a manufacturer and I'm so happy. So, and they're willing to work with, even though I had to put everything on pause. They're like, we still want to work with you. We like your designs. I'm like, perfect.
Yay.
Great. So yeah.
That's so exciting. Okay. So, how did your self-perception change this year? So I just realized, like, 2 days ago that, a lot of times I'll look at myself and be like, ugh, you look terrible, you look ugly. And I realized that I only feel like I look that way sometimes. And I kind of extrapolate that to every moment of my life. Like, I assume everyone thinks I look terrible all the time because sometimes I feel and look terrible. But that's not true because you are not who you are at your worst. And most people don't actually perceive you as your worst, you know?
That's going to be the quote for the episode, by the way.
Great. Isn't it right? Because
of course.
Sometimes people even perceive you at your best, you know? So
a lot of times people perceive you at your best. Do you not hear how I've been talking about you the whole episode?
Right. So that was like a really good realization for me to have.
Yeah. I think that maybe you should ask your friends to tell you something they like about you and then write them all on Post-its and and put them all over your room. Because then you can read them all.
That's a sweet idea.
You should do that. I'm coming over.
Yeah, but then you'll like don't you remember on the episode with Margot, she was saying that like every day when she gets out of the shower, she looks at herself and just tells her like positive things about her body. And that's how she like does like radical self-love. Right.
And if you don't believe yourself, then you might believe your friends. I guess.
Well, yeah. Well, also like believing your friends will help you.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Change your opinion of yourself.
Yeah. So
I like saying I'm not gonna let you talk about my friend that way. Like if someone's like being mean to themselves.
Yeah, I also do that to my friends.
Yeah. Jenny, you're who you are at your best always. Yeah. I realized that I'm more patient than I realized I was. Because I always thought I was a very impatient person. But then I realized that it actually takes a lot of patience to like do my business the way that I do and everything. I mean, there's certainly moments when I'm impatient.
Right.
But I think I was like, just like how you're saying, like, you're not who you are at your worst. I think that I was basing that opinion on myself of like all of like the moments when I'm impatient and like not able to keep my cool, when like probably 95% of the time I actually am very patient. Another one is basically like I started doing this when I moved, but this year I I feel like took it to the next level where I'm not willing to be friends with anyone who consistently hurts me. Like, because like I think we all have those friendships that are like people who you feel obligated to be friends with, but when you think about it, you're like, is this person actually my friend? Every interaction I have with them feels painful. It can't be healthy for them either. Like, it's not healthy for me. Like, I feel like if it's not healthy for me, it can't be healthy for them either. So, like, I don't feel obligated to like give my time to those people anymore. And like, I'm trying harder to not like force myself to, for like, you only have so much time to give.
Yes.
And like, I tend to view everyone as if they're inherently good, and there's always like a reason why someone is acting a certain way and everything. And while I can still believe that, it doesn't mean that I need to sacrifice myself for that.
Yes, correct.
Arkeida?
I will say I've become, what was the question? How has my self-perception changed?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So I feel like from last year going on through this year, I've become a more confident person in myself, and not just appearance wise. I feel like I thought I was just like a pretty useless person. I had like really, I still have it. I still have imposter syndrome, but it was much worse months ago last year. And it's kind of like, I'm sorry, Frozen is still stuck in my head, like coming through that depression, going like, do the next right thing. Like I could only think so far ahead. Like I had to be like, okay, what can I do to better like the goals that I have in life? Like what's the next step? Like who can I reach out to? Who can I talk to? It's just like doing the next right thing to get to where I am now. And I feel like I said, I'm not just confident in who I am and what I look like. I'm confident in what I've accomplished as a person that lives alone, what I've accomplished in terms of things for myself and trying to become like a small business owner, like what I've accomplished in like maintaining healthier relationships with like my friends and my family. So like I am more than my looks, even though I'm adorable. I've come to accept that, like even that, just accepting that when people say that you are pretty and you are gorgeous, like instead of shying away from it, be like, no, I'm not, because the more you say that, the more you're going to believe that you're not. Like, accept that comment and accept that, like, I've done so much and you both have done so much this year. So.
And so have you. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. One of the first sheets they have you fill out in DBT.
DBT?
DBT. Dialectical behavior therapy.
What's that first word?
Dialectical?
What's that?
Dialectical behavior therapy is something that people with like borderline or bipolar often do. Mm-hmm. It helps you it's a therapy that kind of focuses more on understanding and changing behaviors as opposed to like delving into like memories and why they affect you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So like one of the first, I think the first sheet that I filled out when I was doing that was it said like basically like who can you contact like if you're like in a panic mode, which is something like you were kind of saying like at the start of your how your self-perception changed, is like, it's like not just like, it's like with yours, like you were saying, like you like realized who you could contact. So like for people, like sometimes it's good to actually like have something written out, because in that moment sometimes you can't actually think of who you should contact.
Right.
That's all I wanted to say.
Cool. So what are our goals for 2020?
For the podcast or for individual?
Individual.
Okay. We could also do a podcast.
Yeah, also a podcast.
Okay. I mean, scheduling catch-up days into my calendar for when I inevitably overbook myself. So basically, like what you were talking about before, like scheduling like time to just like chill out or relax. Mm-hmm. So instead of scheduling every single day in my calendar to be work, like every like third day or something needs to be like nothingness.
Yeah. That
way, in case I need it for a catch-up day, it can be that, or in case I need it for like take a bath.
Sure.
To just like relax, it can be that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another goal is to leave my phone in another room for like large chunks of time during the day, so that I'm not like constantly checking social media. Which is like, it's a form of work for me to be checking social media, but it's such a draining form of work. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. And another one is, so I spent Solstice with Jane Burson, and who I know Arkeida knows, but she basically like did this thing where you wrote down things you wanted to leave behind from the last year, and we threw them into the fire. And of course I wrote down like 30 things because I constantly overwhelm myself. So like I tend to always come up with like way too many New Year's resolutions and then fail at them because I came up with like a million and then I feel really bad about it.
Right.
So this year I'm basically not going to do that other than like the 2 that I mentioned. But the last thing that I threw in the fire was not focusing on what I should have said or done, but instead focusing on like just like how to improve moving forward.
I think that's a very good one.
Yeah, because like we can't change the past.
Yes,
we can only just like try to do better.
I just said sleep, eating, dating.
I mean, sleep, date in that order.
Concise.
Mostly I want to sleep more because I feel like I don't sleep enough. I want to, I have bad habit of overeating or binge eating or bored eating. So I want to like, just like try and kind of control that a little better. It's really hard. Eating is a very difficult subject for me personally because I have a lot of history around it, a lot of ingrained habits that I need to work on. And that's definitely something I want to work on for next year. And also date some more, maybe.
That's good.
Yeah, if you're comfortable with it, maybe we should do an episode on like healthy eating or like or like depictions of
eating and like food and relationships and
food relationships in some sort of fandom thing. Mainly, I just want to drag your mom.
Oh. All right. What about you, Arkeida?
Also, definitely scheduling, and it's not even scheduling so much as like I think I'm pretty on top of my calendar in terms of knowing when certain events and things are happening, but like scheduling my workload specifically for my designs, because I feel like I try to do all of it at once as opposed to pacing it out, and then it's like if I do so much at one time, then I'll like leave it alone for weeks and it's not consistent. It's not helpful for me or anyone else. So being able to like pace how much I should be getting done daily, weekly, monthly, and like setting a goal for how much I want done, because you are very smart when you come to scheduling and you have it scheduled to the hour. I will write stuff down in my planner and then I'll look at it and like not do it. Like
I do that too. I do that too. But I think we all have to focus like on forgiving ourselves.
Yes, and it's just like I don't know that's kind of like one of, or it is outside of the podcast, my main goal for 2020 is really focusing and investing time in this design and in that collaboration space of design, because I personally feel like I have a lot of potential. And I have so much in my, thank you. I feel like I have so much in my head that like I want to draw and I want to get out. And I feel like what my designs are valid, and I should stop because it ends up me not wanting to do it is because I'm comparing myself to other people that have been doing this for years. And then it's like, why am I doing this when it already exists? And it's like, then I have to convince myself like, you have other ideas too.
Right.
What one person can't have the whole market share of all nerdy designs.
Exactly.
Or like that same group of people. Like you have valid contributions as well. So like focusing my time on that and saving more, definitely. Like I want to end 2020 with $1,000 saved. It's not a lot. But
it's a goal.
It's a goal. That is my goal. Because I feel like I'm not as fiscally responsible as I feel somebody my age should be, which is hard.
Don't think about should.
I know it's so hard because both of my parents are accountants.
Oh.
And both of my sisters, one is studying mathematics, the other studied business, and I went into fashion. So
that's okay.
So it's like, I just want to be able to know that if anything happened, like, I'm somewhat financially secure.
Mhm.
Well, would any of them be able to, like, take a look at, like, the money that you're making and your bills and everything and, like, help you with a budget? Or do you think that would be uncomfortable for you because they might be, like, judgmental or something?
I feel as though my dad would be very good at that. My sister, surprisingly, is in mathematics and wants to be an actuary, which is telling people how to spend their money. But she would judge me really hard, so I'd probably just ask my dad. And I think that's what I'm going to go do in going into 2020, is asking him how I can better, like, finance myself for future stability. Because if I want to go into working for myself, I just want to make sure that I have, like, I'm very lucky and fortunate in the fact that I have a full-time job that can help me, like, pay for this. But I want to make sure that when I do decide to leave this corporate environment, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope we can help you out with it. I've helped people with their budgets before because I've always made, like, a small amount of money, but been able to save a lot because I live, like, very, like, frugally.
Yeah.
And, like, it's like whenever I've helped people with their budgets, they tend to, like, leave out a lot of things, and I have to, like, remind them, like, be honest with yourself about what you are actually spending money on.
Right.
Because, like, this budget isn't about the person helping you make the budget, it's about you. Like, if you're spending a certain amount of money going to movies every week, like, include that. Because that's part of your budget. like, don't be embarrassed about what you're spending your money on. Just, like...
True.
Because otherwise it's going to be all, like, wacky and, like, not realistic.
Yeah.
Also, I'm just going to repeat Taylor Dethridge's quote of, comparison is a thief of joy. Don't do that. Which we all, I'm sure, need to work on that. I know that I do. Social media is extremely difficult because you're just constantly seeing other people very positive, and it's hard to maintain the same level of enthusiasm when you're doing everything alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, keep in mind, a lot of the accounts you're following have help. Right.
So, is there any new projects you're excited about that you haven't already mentioned?
Yes. Now that I've gained enough self-confidence, I'm finally going to actually submit something for the Her Universe fashion show, because every year, I'm so excited. I've already, like, started to design. I have my laptop open, so I'm gonna be, like, digitally drawing everything because my hand drawing is not that good. But
same though.
Let me know if you need help. But every year I psych myself out, and then I see everyone's design and think, that could be me. And every year, like, this submission process opens, and it's opening April 1st, and it opens up, and I'm like, I should design something, and then it closed, and I'm like, I've missed that window. I'm starting early. I'm getting my ideas out there, saving everything, so that way when it does open, I'm not psyching myself out at the last minute. So that is one of my goals. Even if I don't make it in, at least I know that I tried, and I at least submitted something.
Yay,
because I've never submitted anything. So yeah, that's my other goal.
Yeah, I might be submitting with a friend of mine.
Ooh.
As, like, a collab, which is funny because I mean, I know it's usually, like, individual people do it, but I don't really have any strong desire to do it by myself, but I really want one of my friends to enter, and she said she'll only do it if it's, like, with me.
Aww.
So
cool.
But that's so cool.
Yes.
And your work is amazing. So if they don't accept you, they are wrong.
Oh, they're so wrong. Fingers crossed that we both get in, and we're putting that energy out into the world. So we're both gonna get in.
Nice.
I'm excited because I'm in talks with Awesome Con about putting on a fashion show, which is something I've wanted to do for a really long time because I have a really big following there. And I'm specifically asking brands that are, like, size inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
And like it'll be like an open casting call for attendees to model. That way we can showcase not just like skinny white women, but actually like, women of color, trans women, etc., etc. The other thing I'm going to be doing is a weekly Instagram live. Like, basically it's going to be like kind of like a podcast, but not really because it's on Instagram, but it's like a mini version of this, but it's all like going to be Hogwarts house themed. Ooh, based on mental health. I'm calling it the Puffcast.
Nice.
Yeah. Like a play on podcast. Basically I'm just going to be, I basically just want to like interview a bunch of different people about how their mental health relates to their Hogwarts house and like how that has affected, just like how that's affected their life, their career. I do want to highlight marginalized people, probably specifically women, obviously, especially like the people who J.K. Rowling has been an asshole to, like trans women and like Jewish women and Black women, and
Yep.
Yeah.
So I find that the fandom is very inclusive, even if the writer is not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my new project is I'm gonna star in a fashion show. No. Oh,
I got so excited!
Live your dreams!
I got so excited.
You know what? Maybe I will do that. Since all our projects are fashion show related. But I have a new idea for a pin club for fan mail, and I'm hoping that I'll actually get it started, because I'm afraid that I will like just let it sit and not actually start it. So I
feel that.
Hope I actually get this done and it's successful and everyone likes it and Marvel doesn't take it away from me because it won't be licensed.
In Disney. Okay, Disney owns fan mail now.
But we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited for it.
Just schedule it into your hourly.
Yup. Yeah. Okay.
It's gonna be great.
Thank you.
We can do a pin loop with my one and only pin. My pocket enthusiast pin.
I have several pins that I don't even wear, but I do wear my feminist agenda.
You need to sell a pin.
What?
Never mind.
Okay. So last question. Since we are a mental health pop culture podcast, if you could pick any one thing, a movie or a TV show to recommend for someone to watch from the past decade, what would it be?
I guess we should have also included books, but
There's been a lot of good books this last decade, though.
Arkeida, do you want to go first?
Yes. I'm gonna say Into the Spider-Verse. You should absolutely watch it. If you love anything about the Spider-Verse, New York City, like all of that wrapped up into one. Into the Spider-Verse was a beautiful movie. The soundtrack was dope. It also shows a young Black or Afro-Latino kid not involved in crime, as so many like bad depictions there are of their like out there in like film and media, that like this movie, I hate saying that it's refreshing to finally see a movie where like a Black person isn't a villain or like isn't demonized for doing something criminal. Like I loved it. And so it was cool, it's dope. You should definitely watch Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I think it's the best Spider-Man movie.
Samesies.
They were so clever in the animation style in it, like where they had him, like the talk bubbles would like appear. It's just like, I don't know, everything about it was so good.
It was
great recommendation.
Yeah. What about you, Jenny?
It's a little indie film called Avengers Endgame. I'm just kidding. I was trying to think of like a non-comic book movie just because our audience probably have seen most of them. But the first thing that came to mind was the movie Room with Brie Larson.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've talked about it with you guys before. Have I?
No.
No?
I don't remember this.
Do you guys know what it's about?
No.
Basically, it's about Brie Larson and her son, Jacob Tremblay, I think. They have been, stay with me, they have been kidnapped for like a number of years and they're in this room and finally, he escapes, the son escapes and he discovers the world for the first time. And I cried for about half of it, because it's so emotional and like Brie does a good job, Jacob does a good job, and it's, one of the more memorable movies I've seen in the last decade. So I would recommend watching it because it will make you feel so many emotions.
That's amazing. Isn't The Room another movie, but like very bad?
Yes.
Okay.
I
don't like comically always referred to it as like
it is.
Okay. When I saw that on the sheets, I was like, is Jenny recommending The Room?
No, I have not.
Okay. Sorry.
What about you?
Brie Larson is such an amazing actress, so
she's great. Yeah.
Not shocking to recommend
something I know,
with her
right?
in it. Yeah. Mine is, I mean, if you follow my Instagram, this should not be shocking to you because every so often I just put this in my stories. Mine is When They See Us, which is a 4-part Netflix, it's not documentary, but it's like
it's a docuseries.
Yeah. Did either of you watch it?
I did. I couldn't finish. It was so...
No, I understand.
As someone growing up in New York City, I couldn't get through it without crying every second that I just was like...
I understand.
Yeah, and it's like growing up, you know what happens, and I felt like watching it, I was like, I already know what's gonna happen. Not to say I already know what's gonna happen, but I just am like, I can't physically relive that trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I think that every white person mandatory should have to watch this series. It's basically, it's a story of the Exonerated Five, which previously known as the Central Park Five. Mm-hmm. They were 5 boys, 4 of which were age 14 to 15, 1 of which was age 16. So the 16-year-old Corey Wise ended up having to go to maximum security prison. They were abused by police officers for how long? Like 16 hours or something absurd. They were not fed. They were accused of the crime of raping a woman in Central Park. It was a brutal rape, and but they didn't do it. And law enforcement at the time knew that they didn't do it. They just wanted to solve the crime. They used the coerced statements of these children to convict them. Donald Trump dragged them. He took out an ad in the New York Times, a front page ad calling them like monsters and animals, and like saying that they were like wilding out to like make sure that they were like known as animals. And they were in prison for a number of decades. I believe they just hit their 12 years exonerated. But it shows this documentary, or God, I keep calling it a documentary because it's so fucking real. But this 4-part series, it's by Ava DuVernay. It showcases in such a brutal way, like how much the system can screw up and how little it cares about Black kids. Like, yeah. It's like watching it is definitely what made me a lot more hardcore into the Innocence Project. They do an amazing job really showcasing like how young these kids are and what they go through. The actor who played Corey Wise won an Emmy for his role.
Yes. And I will say that they were snubbed by the Golden Globes because so many people refused to watch it, which I'm just like, this is one of those instances where we finally have control of the narrative of how Black people are perceived in media, and they were not all Black, they were Black and Hispanic, but like when there's finally like a non-white influence in how things are perceived, then it's like we don't want to see it, and it's like I don't even know how better to verbalize how rude and privileged it is to feel and act that way,
and also like whenever something like this happens where law enforcement rushes to solve a case, it means that the actual perpetrator is still out there. And in this case, the person who committed this violent rape ended up murdering someone several years later. And that wouldn't have had to happen if they had kept searching for the actual person who committed the crime. Right. It's the most powerful thing that I've watched all decade long. I watched it with Ben, obviously, and I have never seen him cry so hard at anything in the entirety of the time I've known him. Ben used to work at Rikers, and so it reminded him so much of so many of the kids he saw there who didn't even understand why they were in jail. Yeah. And like the mistreatment that he saw them going through there. So yeah, I really just wish more people would watch it, because it's fucked up.
Agreed. It should be part of like criteria for watching.
Before you get a license, you have to watch this series.
Yeah. I think it should be showed in like classes, probably.
Yes,
right?
It should.
It absolutely should, because it's just like, I'm like at a loss for words. It's mind blowing.
It shows a very blatant disdain for Black and brown lives within our justice systems that so many people try to ignore or say doesn't exist, or it did exist, or it's not there anymore, instead of taking a claim to the privilege that you have for having not Black skin or not brown skin.
Yeah, I just was rewatching it, which is like wild to rewatch it, but I really wanted my mom and sister to see it when they were here over the holidays, and we only watched the first of the 4. But like the whole time they kept saying like, oh, it's wild that this used to happen. And I had to keep being like, I know, I had to keep being like, it didn't used to happen. It's still happening.
It's still happening.
This is something that is still happening. The amount like 5% of all people who are in prison are innocent. And most of the people who are in prison are there for petty drug charges and are treated like they're barbarians. Like, this is still happening.
It is. And even, like, there are articles that come out, like, on the daily. Like, the one that came out about the retired police officer who was specifically told to target Black and Hispanic teenagers or Black and Hispanic people. Or even when you look into Seattle, which is supposed to be, like, a very liberal city where Black people make up 9% of the population there, but the people that are like being most frequently stopped and ticketed, when you look into the statistics, it's more than 50% of those people are Black or brown. So like, if you only make up 9% of the population, how is it per ratio the people that are being stopped is over 50 or 50 or like just how wildly like biased our judicial system is.
It's
appalling.
It's honestly like a modern day form of slavery. Like, people in prisons work for like 2 cents on the dime. Some prisons are old like slave plantations, like Angola, where they literally pick cotton. Which is fucking absurd. And it's it's a lot. God, there was one more thing I wanted to say. What the fuck was it? Also like how Americans can be so up in arms about like where our tax dollars are going, but not be concerned with how overpopulated our prison systems are when our tax dollars pay for that is wild to me.
Yeah.
Like, we are paying for people to be in prison their whole lives for smoking some weed. almost everyone has smoked some weed at some point in their life.
Or even, like, people are smoking that, but based on their skin color, they're not being penalized for it. Or they're receiving lesser charges than going to jail.
Yeah, I like to say, if you're a white person and you have ever smoked weed and you're not questioning the prison system, you are hypocritical. Like, something is wrong.
So who would you like to thank for their role in your life this year?
Good positive transition. I'm sorry. Whatever, I love that fucking series so much.
No,
I
it's
learned
good.
so much from it.
That's good.
All of the humans and the dogs. You two, obviously, for enriching my life and doing this podcast with me. Thank you for agreeing to do it and making it better by being on it. Obviously, Ben, the love of my life. My 3 pupperinos, who are little brats at times, but the ultimate form of anxiety reducers. Leanna and Lisette, who are my booth queens and who help make my life at Little Petal run more efficiently. Yeah. I
have to thank MCR for coming back into my life.
Yes.
They would. That's a joke, but also genuinely.
That's not a joke. You are serious. I know you're serious. It's okay.
They were a big part of my teenage years, and it means a lot for them to come back, and I can't wait to see them live one day, whenever they come to the East Coast finally. Of course, you guys. My business partners, Mark and Rose. I love my sisters a lot, so I do appreciate them, even though they don't listen to my podcast.
But one of them financially supports it, doesn't she?
Used to at one point.
Then we can edit that out.
But yeah, thank you to our listeners and our guests too.
Yeah, I guess you too, because without this podcast,
I guess. All right.
What happened?
You were so like, I guess.
I'm sorry. I feel a little drained after crying. Kidding. Okay.
No, that's okay. We're just kidding.
How dare you?
I know. But yeah, no, without having you guys, I don't know where 2019 would have gone. But definitely you two and the friends that I've maintain relationships with this year, and the new friends I've made, and like some of the fans from this podcast who are just like literally the sweetest people. Mm-hmm. So thank you to you, and thank you to the fans and to my family, because they are so supportive of all of, like, I tell them what I'm doing, and it's like the littlest thing of me being like, I finally got this design and I set this out. They're like, finally, yes, celebrations. And I'm like, not actual celebrations, but that little bit of praise kind of helps keep things going. So having this massive support system, friends and family and listeners, y'all are amazing. So keep up the good work, I guess. Yeah, that's me sharing emotions.
Yeah, also obviously my customers, who are the sweetest, most patient humans in the damn world. Like, I literally, like the only place I actually enjoy spending time online is my Facebook group, the Little Petal Alliance. Like, when I'm on Facebook, I notice I used to always share things on my personal account, and now I almost never do. I'm just like, nah, I'm just gonna talk in my Facebook group because these are my people. Wholesome. Yeah, like, these are my people. All right. Like, I know everyone in there is really sweet. So, Thanks so much for listening.
Please take a moment to subscribe, review, and rate us. It's the easiest way to help support our podcast. And if you leave a review, we will read it on the podcast.
Leave more reviews. We don't have one for our year anniversary one. What the fuck?
had a lot so far, though. I am grateful
We're
for the
all
ones
amazing.
that we have
Thank you
had.
for all of the ones that we have had. We love you. Well, it's so funny because like people message us all the time to talk to us about the episodes, and in my head I'm always like, write a review. Please write a review.
So if you've messaged us, also review us while you're messaging us.
Yes. At the same time. On the same phone.
Just copy and paste it. It's fine.
Yes. So if you want to chat with us about the episode, our social medias are Fandom and Wellness on Instagram.
Fandom and Wellness on Facebook.
And Fandom Wellness on Twitter.
You can also find me at Classy Rebel Design.
Me at Fan Mailbox.
And me at Little Petal, all on Instagram.
And if you want bonus content, you can join our fandom family at patreon.com/fandom and wellness for Patreon exclusive geek sessions.
And remember, be kind and take no shit.
Happy New Year!
Yay!
We love you! 3000!